broadcasting from an undisclosed location, from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter for up-to-date information on upcoming shows and topics.
Welcome to The Hunting Show. I'm your host, Stephen Spargo, and last week's show, gee whiz, whenever we cover 1080 as an issue, we get this overwhelming response. And it's interesting because I'd like to just point out that there's been no position in the show where I've made my personal views known, and the show itself is actually neutral on the issue. I am willing to give both sides of the fence the opportunity to have their say. Now, the truth of it is, I've given the opportunity to the pro-1080 groups, and no one has responded to me. So I put this challenge out to you now. If you work for the Department of Conservation and you're in a position of authority, in other words, you're allowed to talk to the media, and we know it's not about DOC controlling the message. I'm not trying to say that at all. There will be some official spokesperson that you need to use. I'd like to put out there, I will give you the opportunity to come on the show, put your case across. In fact, I'll give anyone in a position of authority, in other words, not just Jimbo up the road, but anyone in a position of authority that would like to speak to us on this issue, on the pro side of the fence, I'm going to give you your voice. I'm not going to corner you. I'm not going to make this hard for you. I'm going to give you the same respect that I give any interview on this show. And you're going to have the opportunity to put your case over there in an unbiased manner. There you go. Get in contact with me, info@thehuntingshow.co.nz if you know someone, or you are someone that is in a position that can actually speak on this on behalf of a group of authority. I think you guys get the message. Now, I do like to talk about New Zealand designed products, preferably New Zealand designed and manufactured products. That is a little bit hard. A lot of our hunting products are from overseas or are manufactured overseas. But I do like it when a New Zealand company gets up there and competes on the world stage. And one of those products is the UFO Cooker. So joined by phone, I have Wayne Dil, designer and inventor of the UFO Cooker. How are you, Wayne?
Yeah, good morning. Really well, thanks. It seems to be another nice day in Auckland.
And I'm sitting here in beautiful Taupo. Listen, Wayne, the UFO Cooker, we see it absolutely everywhere. You're at all the shows, I've seen you on TV, and definitely at any store that sells hunting and fishing apparel. What's the story? How did the UFO Cooker come about?
Well, it started back a long time ago, actually. It started back when I was a young teenager. I used to live on Waiheke Island, which is a little island off Auckland, about half an hour from downtown Auckland. And what it was is my father and my uncles and that were all commercial fishermen. And my dad was an engineer, and he used to chop up old barrels, and he used to use old 44-gallon drums and old beer kegs and stuff like that the breweries didn't like him doing. But every Kiwi used to make stuff out of drums. It was either a barbecue or a smoker, and they used to do a lot of hungies. So they used to make up 2- and 3-piece units to steam their food in. I suppose that's kind of where I first got it from, and we used to go to a lot of marae hungies and stuff like that. And as it got further and further along, as everything evolved, everyone started wanting convenience, and so instead of digging a hole and putting it in the ground and hoping for the best and pulling it up, 3-4 hours later, and it hadn't quite cooked. The convenience with this is you can simply just lift the lid off, check it. If it's not quite done, you can put the lid on and keep having a beer.
Mm. And how did it evolve? You've gone from some sort of backyard making something and creating something into a full-blown New Zealand company.
Yeah, well, how it started is I was working for an engineering company on the North Shore, and I made a prototype, and the prototype used to sit on my bench. And I take a lot of people deer hunting, and I wanted to make one unit that I could use for everything. Basically, I wanted to be able to barbecue, steam, roast, do everything. I wanted one unit that I could put in my car or in my campsite, and I didn't have to lug a big square barbecue along. So I designed it at work. I made a prototype, and how the company actually kicked off is I had a customer that used to come into work, and he's now my business partner. He used to come in and ask me, how's it going? And I said, well, really good. And how it all eventuated is I took a gentleman out deer hunting, and as we're all sitting around the fire and he's watching my device cook food, he asked me, where did I get it from? And I said, well, I made it. And he said, this would be a really cool unit for me to sell in America. And I asked him where he worked, and he actually ended up being one of the main buyers for the chain Walmart in America. And that's kind of how it eventuated. He said, I'd love to sell these in America in our stores. And it kind of progressed from there. And I said, well, how many do you want? And I thought it was all a dream and a joke, but he emailed me back, and I made a container of them. I never had the money to get it off the ground to start with. Mm. And that's where my business partner came in. I told him the story that I'd taken a guy out and he wanted a container, and I had it all in writing. And, I was just a young dad. I had a wife, a couple of kids, and a big mortgage, and I couldn't get any more money out of the bank to make it happen. And so he bankrolled the whole operation. He said, well, I'll tell you what, you've got the ideas, you've got the sales, I'll bankroll it, and we'll go 50-50 in the business. So we basically shook hands, and from that day forward, we sold our first container, and it's just progressed from there. So, 7 years later, and we're still smoking along.
Yeah, definitely smoking along. Can you tell us a little bit about how they work?
Well, the principle behind them is you've got a heat source in the bottom. So you have a heat source, you have a gas burner in the bottom. You can either have a gas burner, or if you haven't got LPG, like for the islands, we sell them and they don't put a gas burner under. They put a little fire. You can put a fire or charcoal under there. What it does is it heats up the bottom of the unit, and you put sawdust. You put a little bit of sawdust in, like a quarter of a handful of sawdust. That starts smoking, and so that permeates through your baskets of food. You let that smoke for about 10, 15, half an hour. It's quite a relaxed unit to use. There's no, if you let it go for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, there's not going to be much difference. And then you add a couple of litres of water in there, and that starts the steaming process. And you have the meat in the bottom, and you have your vegetables in the top. And we make a whole lot of different sizes too, depending on the size for how many you're catering for. But we do little ones that'll cater for like 6 people up to 500 is our biggest unit.
Gee. Now, I'm on your website now, and look, I know a little bit about your product, as you know, but the one that I've been interested in, the one I've getting sent from you, is the UFO Roaster Smoker, which is roughly the size of the original. How many meals am I going to expect to be able to create out of that?
You can cook for 25 adults out of that one unit.
Gee.
That unit that we send you is our latest creation. It's the only cooker in the world that you can roast, steam, smoke, and boil all in one unit. How we've created it is we've made a centre chimney that comes up from the middle that you simply put wood chips on the top, and you put your water around the outside, so it smokes and steams at the same time for your honey flavour. So that's how you're getting a really good, like a traditional flavour. Plus, we're lining the baskets with cabbage leaves. Yeah. The other good thing is that if you don't want to use it for hanging, you can simply either put sand in the bottom, or you can use barbecue fat soak that you can pick up from anywhere. You'll put a layer of that in the bottom, mm-hmm. and you can either hang your meat or sit it in the baskets, and then you can roast. So you can do beautiful roast meat. So you can do just like what your oven would do. It runs roughly the same temperature. It runs anywhere from 150 to 180 degrees. So basically, you just treat it like your oven at home. It's about the same cook time. So a piece of pork's going to take 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and you've got the options of smoking as well, and you can also use that same unit as a barbecue. And you'll notice on our website, if you flip the unit upside down, mm-hmm. your base plate that protects your deck from burning now turns into your barbecue plate. And that's why you'll notice on our website, you'll wonder why the word barbecue is upside down. Simply by rotating the, yeah.
Now, look, I've had a look. You've also got the cold smoke generator, and I've had a go with one of these. You and I attached one to my barbecue, and I've smoked some cheese the other night. And we actually grated it and used it on pizza, which was lovely. That's another interesting thing. It's not very expensive, but you can attach it to almost anything and create a smokehouse.
Yeah, that little the cold smoker that we've got has been a real success. I spent a long time designing that to get it right. We've only had that out for about 18 months, and we've sold over 14,500 of those worldwide. So, and they're really starting to take traction, especially in Europe. We've just got them into the US. You'll see on our website too, we've got them we sell them in Australia, and we've just sold a couple of pallets so we sold 500 to the UK. So there's a big distributor about to distribute them in the UK. So I think in the future that will be a really big product for us, because the speed we're selling them at the moment with our limited, I suppose, promoting, we're just trying to promote our business. It's very hard to work out what works, is radios or the internet, or it's a really hard one to work out where to spend your money on marketing.
Oh, look, my wife and I own a marketing company, and we know that it's a giant hole you can keep throwing money into. So I completely appreciate where you're coming from. So if someone wanted to find one of your cookers, and we'll talk to the New Zealand audience first, where can they go to find one, have it demoed maybe, or get a decent explanation on it?
The best place to go, the guys with all the experience, is go to any hunting and fishing store in New Zealand. I think they've got 34 locations. You can find their locations on our website.
Great. Or
you can, and our website's www.ufocooker.co.nz. We've also got a range of other stores. You can go to any of the Top Catch stores around New Zealand. We've got any of the FCO stores in New Zealand.
Yep.
And any of the...
And any in Australia? Sorry? Have you got any in Australia as well?
Yes, we've got them in Australia. We've got them in Brewers World, and we've also got an agent in Australia that you can find on our website too. Great. We also have an agent in Tahiti, and we have one in California as well.
Just while we're talking about overseas, you've done also a little bit of aid work I saw on your website. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes. What we wanted to do is our dream was to get our big cookers so they were doing something useful. We went to Vanuatu and we spoke to the Vanuatu government who needed some aid up there because they have a lot of big aid organisations actually running out of Vanuatu. They have Save the Children up there, they have the Red Cross, and they have World Vision there. So me and one of my workers, we decided to jump on their plane. We went up there, we organised an interview with World Vision, and while we were up there, we decided we'd donate half a dozen cookers to each organisation. And we wanted to also demonstrate them too, so they could go into World Aid, like the big shelter sheds they have around the world. So like if there's a tornado, earthquake, or anything like that, our units could be on hand. We also used quite a few of them. We sent quite a few down to Christchurch for the earthquake that they had down there. That was our first aid kind of relief where we donated some and sent them down there.
How did they go in that situation?
Very good. They used them for different purposes. The fire brigade actually, they just had them boiling, and they just had them simmering. And they made big lots of Milo. So they hold 38 litres of liquid. So they had Milo going, and we ended up putting little zip taps on the side so the ladies could make up hot Milo. So all the volunteers and that, they could stop and have something to, warm to drink while they were walking around doing all their hard work down there.
Just on that point too, one thing I've noticed, and I had a little bit of a look online before this interview at various comments people have made, is these units are going out there, people are buying them, but they're also customising them, they're making them their own. That's really cool. That's kind of like the Harley Davidson story of cooking, isn't it?
Well, it is. Yeah, you've got And to be fair, some of our innovations and our designing of new products, like every time we make a new run, we get a lot of feedback. So we get a lot of customers. I'll give you one of the stories is our original cooker. We never had any lift out handles to actually, it was all good putting the baskets in when they were cold, but when it was stinking hot, you either had to wreck Mum's tea towel to get it out or burn your fingers. And Mum didn't like her tea towel being burned, so one of our customers actually bent up a coat hanger and made these little lift handles and actually sent them back to me and said, you should make these and supply them. And everyone kind of gave me credit for making such a good lift handle, but actually it was a customer that I never got to thank because he never put his return details on when he couriered it back to me.
That's a fantastic story. And like you said, the guys that decided, or you maybe decided to put a tap on the side of them to make them do something completely different. The design is remarkably simple. Why hasn't anyone done anything quite like this before, outside of guys making keg cookers in their backyard?
Well, there has been different guys that attempt different things, but our secret was to try and get the price. It had to be affordable. It also had to... I wanted it to do everything. That's why our latest one that we've just released with the roasting as well, we used to have an original and we had a roaster, and they're all separate units. And what we're finding is people would really love our product, but then they'd say, well, I'd really like a unit that could steam and roast. Mm. And there was nobody out there who had a steamer and a roaster. I mean, there is other companies out there who make steamers, but there's no one who does a roast, a steamer, and a barbecue all in one unit. So it took quite a bit of playing around to get a unit because it's very hard to get a unit to do both and do it successfully. I mean, you don't want to make a product that's doing everything like average. So that's why it did take us a long time to actually get our unit to roast. Like it does the most amazing roasts, what you'll see on our website, and it does really good steaming. So it does the best steaming. You can do all your shellfish, hangy food, and then you can do like roast and roast potatoes, and you get crackling on the pork.
Gee. Now, just taking a step back from that for just a moment, you're a hunter as well, aren't you?
Correct, yeah.
And one thing that appealed to me about this is if a bunch of guys go hunting, we can take this with us. And I did look on the website, and I might have this wrong, but you can use other fuel. So if I wanted to take this out hunting with me and just use a fire underneath it, the same unit does both. Is that right?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. The same unit does both. We made it so it's something you can light a fire under it as well. We mainly done that for the islands. The unit used to be a little bit lower, so it was closer to the gas. But when we tried to run a fire under there, the fire didn't like not having enough air under there. So we actually changed the design slightly so you could either have a fire or LPG. And for us, when we go hunting, we don't want to have to carry a 9-kilo gas bottle and a big cast iron burner. So what we've done is in some of our favourite spots, I mean, obviously because we make them so we can afford to do this, but we took one unit and we actually left it in one of our camping spots. So when we got helicoptered in, we actually used heli seeker down your way. We went in trying to get some seeker deer. We actually flew one in and we left it there. So we've left it at one of our little huts there that we go to once a year.
Great.
And we just have a little stick fire under it. And a little stick fire gets all the water going, and you put your food in. And the good thing is if once the embers are going and you've got a little fire and they've got a good ember base under there, you can actually walk off and leave it and go hunting for the day. And when you come back, your dinner's ready.
Very good
point. It's nice and safe. It's all contained. You're not worried about it, burning the forest down or anything like that.
Now, being a hunter, you must have some good hunting stories. It's always a hard question.
Yes, I do have a hunting story. I've got a very good one. Puhoi on the state. It's on State Highway 16 now. It used to be the old State Highway 1 that used to run up north, where the Puhoi pub is.
Yep. Some
of the locals might know that. We wanted to go goat shooting one day, and a guy rang us up and said he's planted a whole lot of native trees and he's got a problem with goats. And we volunteered, as all young guys do. We thought, right. So we got ourselves a whole lot of guns, jumped in the car, drove up to Puhoi, driving up the road, and asked one of our mates, what's the address? And he said, just go to the end of such and such road. So we get to the end of this road, and there's 3 driveways. And we're like, well, which driveway? And he said, it's the one on the right. Well, anyway, to cut the story short, we got the wrong driveway, and we went up the driveway, and as we went up the driveway, I saw a big group of goats, and we thought, right, we're in. So all the boys bailed out of the cars, got their guns, started shooting the goats, and then we're halfway into shooting the goats, and we hear a guy on a motorbike. We can hear a Honda motorbike coming down the hill, and the guy's screaming off the motorbike. And we've gone down the wrong driveway, and we're shooting the wrong goats. We're actually shooting someone, and we were wondering why the goats weren't scared of us. So, as you can imagine, that got us into quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, fair call too. You don't want to do that every day. It was 20-odd years ago, so I'd like to say we're a lot more cautious than that now. We double confirm the address. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Wayne, if someone wants to find out more about your cookers, you've given out the website, www.ufocooker.co.nz. There's a few other places they can find you online, though, isn't there?
Yeah, they can go to YouTube. If you type in UFO Cooker on YouTube and watch our YouTube clips, or another really good one where there's some good ones on there, if you type in UFO Global on YouTube, you can watch all of our clips, and you can also put in Cold Smoker UFO or UFO Cold Smoker on YouTube, and there's tips and hints, and you'll see other guys modifying their own cookers and coming up with recipes. And speaking of recipes, we're actually, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be releasing our cookbook. We've made a purpose cookbook for cold smoking for the cold smoker.
Great. So what I'll do is I'll put links to those in the comments section or just above the comments section of this podcast. If you're listening on iHeartRadio, remember you've got to open that. It doesn't open automatically. But iTunes and Blog Talk, those are just sitting there. So you can find information on the UFO cookers and see those YouTube videos. Wayne, let me send me one of those books. We'll give one of them away on the show in the near future. And
definitely.
I've put you on the spot there. Just I didn't ask you beforehand whether we could do that. And Wayne, thank you very much. First of all, having a great Kiwi invention, and second, for appearing on the show.
No problem. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Check out The Hunting Show's photo gallery. All you need to do is go to www.thehuntingshow.co.nz, scroll down the page a little bit, and you'll see a little link there to our gallery. And if you'd like your photo on there, we'd like it too, because the gallery is looking slightly sad at the moment, and not because the photos that were sent in haven't been great. We'd just like a few more, and if you'd send us your photos, we put them up there and you can share them with the world at that point. We also want some more likes on iTunes. It's interesting, I go down the stats every now and then and just see where you're listening to us, and 99% of you nearly listen to us in the browser window of your computer or possibly on your phone. If you've got an iPhone, go into iTunes, look for us in there, and give us a star rating. That helps the show get out there a little bit more and does help us get more recognition around the world. That's a little favour you can do for me. If you're thinking, how can I thank Stephen for the great shows? I'm a bit full of it right now. That's one way you can really help us, is give us one of those 5-star ratings if you think we deserve it. Guys, thank you for tuning in again. Good hunting.
Broadcasting from an undisclosed location, from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter for up-to-date information on upcoming shows